I'm just going to contemplate here kind of electrons, objects, like the nature of objects, electricity, energy, right? So when we talk about matter, when we're talking about like objects, scientifically in the Western mindset, we're talking about electrons or some sort of perturbation in the electromagnetic field that's associated with atoms. And when you get a bunch of atoms clustered together, their electromagnetic field takes on the shape of the object, or it takes on the shape of the molecule. So whether you're looking at something from like DNA or some molecule or some atom, you have, there's allegedly, I think it's the center of atoms and stuff like that is like the center of a tornado or a center of a vortice. There's not actually a positive charge in the sense of, in the traditional sense of the word, where there's like protons or stuff in the middle. There's swirling electromagnetic charge, and that swirling is so fast and so dense. Imagine water swirling and you try and touch it, it's going to deflect you. It's going to deflect you just like an object. Whereas at the outer edges of the electromagnetic swirl, it's going to deflect you like a field, right? So like the objectness at the center of atoms, and thus at the center of anything, like if you just look at a hydrogen atom, for the simplest thing that we know of where this happens, I guess, that we can interact with very much, is a hydrogen atom. And so that's you're just looking at this field swirling, and then at the center of this torus, the field swirling so fast that you get deflection. You don't enter into the field itself deflects you. And then at the outer edges, you get the ether, you get the electromagnetic swirling, and so that's the orbital. The outer part of it is like what people are seeing as like the probability cloud, the bonding angle, right? And so it's these hyper multi-dimensional toroids where it's like, let's say take carbon, and you get carbon wanting to do this pyramidal structure bonding angle thing, right? There's these electron fields. It's the electrical shape of this toroid that happens to create all the different elements, like kind of has a shape to it. Imagine, so it's there's vibration being applied to it. So at the base level, you just have that torus of the hydrogen. So it's this double torus thing happening. And then imagine you apply frequency to it. The torus is going to keep going to the degree that it can go in, and then the frequency or the sound of the vibration will distort the toroid cymatically. So you're looking at like for all elements or all shapes, these bonding angles and stuff, is that they're in the location of this the toroid thing is happening, and then there's a cymatic distortion of the torus. So like think of it to be less dimensional. Just think of a tornado, right? A tornado between two things. A tornado is a torus. You just the outside part of the torus is just harder to visualize. But you just visualize a tornado, and the tornado wants to be this shape. Imagine it's just that shape. And then the same way that you see like cymatic making patterns in sand, like when you apply a frequency to something, it causes it to distort into the shape of that frequency. So you can see it moving water or ferrofluid, or there's all sorts of different cymatic examples. So you're looking at a cymatic distortion of that toroid, so that's going to take interesting shapes, even though it's still essentially torusing. As long as the structure isn't broken, then the overall function of the torus of going in and going out can take on whatever shape whatsoever. Like that's what we are. So that electrical activity, that's what's doing in the shape, and then there's some sort of cymatic vibration thing to where that toroid, that those toruses look particular ways. So when you look at water, that the the oxygen hydrogen thing is cymatically doing something to where all the electrical activity mixes together and takes on a definite shape, like the body of water. It responds to gravity in a certain way, but you're looking at that electrical activity all the time in any object, anything that's physical. This is happening, but it's also happening in water, and so you can actually put your hand into it to feel the phenomenon a little bit better, because you're actually putting your hand into the phenomenon. This phenomenon is mind, so it's inherently, it has meaning. So as you do things physically, that physical action has the same meaning that it has in a dream simultaneously. So to put the mind, or to put the awareness into water, is you're putting it in deeper into reality, for real, deeper, as if you would to go into a rock. It's the same electrical field, but you can't go into it in a rock, but you're going into the same field in water. So when you look at water, you can, that's how you understand electricity, sort of from the inside out, or ether. Because you're swimming in it, in water. It's how it is. Except sometimes it gets moving so fast, just like water can get moving so fast, and instead of even being sucked in, it's moving so fast that it deflects. Imagine water moving so fast, like a pool jet. You know, it's like it's hard to even get in the current. Think of the most powerful jet possible, and that's what it's like going at the center of a toroid. So you can't go into it. And so then you're looking at a body of water. That field just wants to be at a certain level. That's level, and then the tornado happens within that field that has a certain level. So you can actually increase that field. Flooding that field is basically the same thing as making basic water. Basic water has extra electrons in it. Bases have extra electrons in it per unit of, like, naturally where that toroidal field wants to rest. So it floods the field, and so it floods all the electron orbitals. It floods everything, and that's what you could think of as like extra wet water. And so it floods the bonding orbitals of everything around it and kind of liquefies everything. So that's why you can dissolve stuff in bases. And kind of the same thing with acid. Acids are like, the water is like really dry, it's parched, so it'll suck the water out of things in it. It'll suck the water out of it'll suck the electrons out of the bonds that are holding substances together, and so it'll dissolve things, right? You can destroy stuff by removing the electrical energy in it, or by flooding the electrical energy so that it overflows its container, and then that cymatic thing that I'm talking about no longer applies to it, so the bond falls apart. So if something's at a certain electrical activity, there's like a cymatic thing coming out of the space, right? If it's the cymatics, the vibration, the tone, it's coming out of the space that's at the center of the toroid, where the electrical activity is not present. The same way that, like, sound is in the air. Or like when you apply cymatic activity to a substance, it's coming from the more rarefied area. So that area that contains the forms, which would be the sounds, which would be the vibrations, the cymatic vibrations creating all the different elements, the cymatic vibrations creating the structure. That's the Platonic realm. It's like the air versus water. Right, and then the water is the ether, is the matter, is the form, and it's toroidaling, it's torusing, and so at the center of the torus is a nothingness. It's no one's there. No one's there. There's not a positive charge there at the middle, and that's fractally reflected when you dig in to look for yourself or your personality or your ego or matter. Everyone go, oh, there's nothing there. But it's swirling. There's some sort of positive, negative, right? Where does the tornado form? It forms between high and low pressure, positive and negative. So between positive and negative is this draw, this tendency, this spiraling, this sideways direction, this separation between positive and negative. And you could say this is consciousness, this is life, right? This pattern is getting into it's the yin yang, etc. So it's just the pattern's moving so fast at the core that it behaves like an object. Like the tornado is the movement of the field, but it's moving in such a way that you go, that's a thing. It's not air. Like a tornado is just air. It's like what? Well, the air is not a thing right here if it's not moving that fast. Out here, all the air that makes up the matter of the thingness of a tornado. It's the same stuff. It's just vortexing so fast at the tornado that you go, oh, there's an object, there's a thing, it's a tornado, I can reference it. Like with the air, I'm like, where am I pointing to? Where's the air? Point to it. Point to the air. And it's like, is it over there? Yeah. Is it there? Yeah. Like I can't point to it in a meaningful way unless it starts going so fast that it's a tornado. If it's moving at all, I could go, oh, there's a breeze over there. There's a current of air. And we could go, well, is it right here? And you go, no. And you step forward. Or you get a fan going and the fan's blowing. And you go, where's the current? You go, right there. Is it an object? Not really. The current is an activity. But you can point to it is right there. Is the activity of the fan over there? Not really. But the whole room is circulating. Right? Like think of a fan circulating the air in a room. And that's what you've got in terms of the torque. The current's there, and then the air's not really moving, but the whole field is moving, and then there's the current again, right? The whole field moves a little bit to drive the fast current here. So you just up that current until it's a vortex, and then you go, oh, there's something right there, and then so that same thing is what we talk about when we're talking about hydrogen. What's going on over there? The hydrogen, is it the stuff of it? Where's the stuff of the hydrogen? And you go, it's like you're in the stuff of the hydrogen, and the hydrogen, there's something going on between positive and negative right there that's causing a tornado or torus, a vortex, right? That movement between charge, even when you send charge through a wire, the right hand rule, right? And so then as all those things link together, there's a net movement pattern. Like if all the atoms bond together, there's like there's a cymatic pattern that distorts the base toroid, right? The base toroid is the yin and the yang, between which like something moves that creates like hydrogen, carbon, oxygen, nitrogen, right? The thing that's like the thing that keeps the atoms spinning, right? And it's also the thing that keeps us moving. So our patterns, like our heart, our circulation, our perceptual cycles. And everything's there in the same way, so you get this hollow core of nothingness that's the center of the cyclone, around which is just the turbulent activity, not driven by itself, but driven by the positive and negative. And so when people dig into that, if you don't realize what's going on, it's like you can get some pretty nihilism or whatever. Like when people see how everything really works and it's like that, and it's not something more complex, people for some reason get nihilistic, as if they don't exist, as if you need complexity to make this real, or you need it to be something other than what it is, or it's not real. And that happens with, any of the systems that try and say this is how things work. Like mechanically or whatever. Then you have some things where they go, oh, this is how things work at a personal level. Like that's the virtues. Which is saying that the cymatic pattern that's coming from nothingness, that's coming from everywhere, is the self, sort of. Right? It's not that there's nothing at the center, it's just that the center is existing in this way that's the same center with everybody else. It's the same air. As you speak, it radiates out into the entire volume of the room. So, like, where are you? And it's like you're everywhere. Somehow actively participating. I found out the other day I only have like a 3 or a 4 day memory. Like if I try and remember what I did like 4 days ago without writing it down, I don't know. I don't know what I did at work. I do very specific things each day and I can't remember. But that's how water works. That's why it's cool. You're in that electrical sea. You're in that thing that's making up the substance of everything else. Like a lot of the times, like when there's another object, the difference in pressure between you and the object, or the charge or the polarity, is like so great. Like the reason that that you don't merge into these other things isn't because of the electricity or whatever doesn't want to merge. Like it's not that opposites repel each other, right? Everyone has all these physics of everything backwards, even down to like, oh, why don't the hands go together? Oh, well, because the electrons are repelling each other. Like, no, there is attract to each other as two bodies of water. It's just there's a cymatic, there's a tone, there's a frequency or whatever, which is creating a toroidal standing wave that's moving so fast, they're moving in opposite directions. Imagine gears moving in opposite directions. So like between two dimensional spaces, like each one of my hands on the surface, it's like those toroids are spinning in opposite directions so fast that when you cut, they just skim off of each other. The currents just skim off of each other. Get like a turbojet in a hot tub or whatever, and notice the boundary layer. So the faster the water goes, like just or like a pressure washer going, it's going so hard you like almost can't you can't press into it. Even if you like cover your hand in some super protective material, you'll still kind of skip off of it. If you didn't have enough strength, you couldn't go into the pressure washer stream. Or two pressure washer streams actually hit into each other, they repel and kind of deflect. And that's what's happening when two objects meet. It's not that the electricity is repellent of each other. It's just it's like counter rotational spin in opposite directions at the speed of light. It creates an object in the etheric field. And so water lets you work with the base concept. An object in an etheric field at the most simple level is you're looking at a tornado or a current. Right? Everything higher than that, like a carbon atom or uranium or whatever, you're looking at a more complex concept. That's the concept. It's just a little bit more complex. So yeah, imagine a really skinny tornado bent or coiled into an interesting shape, and then you have what's going on electrically in DNA, right? Super long skinny tornado, and then the frequency is applied to the inside, so a tornado like gets that. You can bend a tornado into a cymatic shape, right? So that super skinny tornado, and this is how you get these different objects at these different scales, and how it's like, how is the ether bending into that shape? And it's all toroidal mechanics, like super big, wide ones, right? Like imagine just a really simple, big, fat, like hurricane, a big fat torus. And that's what you're looking at with something like a hydrogen atom. It's like it just behaves like a hole. It just behaves like a ball. And then imagine a super long skinny torus, like a tornado or a dirt devil that you would see out in the desert, and you know how that bends. So amplify that up again, so it's going super fast, super hard, and then it's capable of being super bent by the cymatic frequency coming out of the space or the air. That principle is kind of like DNA. And then, you know, imagine the torus of the heart.